The Trojans have limited spots available in their 2027 recruiting class. So we're going to talk recruiting. The 2027 cycle is in full effect, and I've got Brian Smith from the Portal Show.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone, and welcome to Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, also the #1 sports podcast network. So whether you're watching the show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast, we're free. You pick the platform. This show will always appreciate your support. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode every game day during the NFL playoffs. FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Once again, welcome back to another episode of Locked On USC. I'm your host, Mark Kulkin, credentialed media member that follows USC. I also write for WeRC.com. This is Brian Smith from Locked On, the Portal Show. He's joining us. We're going to talk about recruiting, everything involved with recruiting 2027, 2026, a little bit of a review there. We'll talk about USC's transfer portal. Did they meet their needs? All right, so far, Lincoln Riley has one commitment secured, Brian, in the 2027 cycle. Elite cornerback Aaron Washington. He's from Mater Dei High School. He is now going to be enrolling, or he's heading to IMG Academy. Question, Brian. First question. What's your take on Washington? And especially leaving Mater Dei and going to IMG Academy, will that make it more difficult for USC to keep him in the fold, or is this more just about development?
It's development. I know his DB coach personally at IMG. I work with Coastline Stars, and he's our DB coach as well. So small world. I was actually just talking to him a couple of days ago about him.
All right.
Smallest of small worlds here, Mr. Colvin. He just wants to go out there and get a chance to compete. Like IMG secondary is kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So he just wants to compete with the best, wants to change the scenery. I don't think it makes any difference whatsoever. And his recruitment would have continued even if he was at Mater Dei. If he transferred to Duncanville in Texas, it wouldn't have mattered. So USC is probably where he'll end up.
Yeah, look, USC went hot and heavy with the defensive back class in 2026.
Yeah,
as I mentioned, they have limited spots available in 2027. They've got Aaron Washington. I know they're highly focused on Jontez Williams. That's another guy out here in Southern California. Miami Battle 7-on-7 just finished up. You sent me a note a couple of weeks ago about wide receiver Osani Gales.
Yeah.
And basically the quote was, I think Osani said, SC's recruiting me the hardest. That was the gist of it. Tell Trojan fans about not just Osani Gales, but other guys in your area like Nick Lanier, Eric McFarland. These guys who are taking visits or have taken a visit to USC. What are USC's chances with that wide receiver group that I just talked about?
Good with all of them. Let's start with McFarland. When he was a freshman at IMG, there was some around that program thought he was the best player in the program as freshman.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far, but like he started as freshman at IMG.
At IMG, that's crazy.
Yeah, he's a Vegas kid. He would have went to Bishop Gorman. He told me if it hadn't have been IMG. So I mean, he's that guy. He'll run sub 4.4 until he's 40. Literally,
I can use that. USC can use some of that.
He's the kind of guy that I question whether he should play football and he should just put on the spikes. So,
oh wow. That type of athletic ability.
I could see him running the 60 in the indoor and stuff. I'm sure Nike would love to sign him. It's one of those kinds of things. Great kid.
A good track program, fortunately.
He's got great speed, but he's a route runner. He's pretty physical for not the biggest guys, 5'10", 5'11", or whatever, tough as nails, and just loves football and loves to learn. SC is kind of like, no offense to UNLV or Nevada, they're probably not getting his commitment. That's his home state. But SC's in that mix. Oregon, like LSU's his dream school. I don't know how much that matters now. They just took 9 transfer portal receivers. But, yeah, that's wild. Eric could end up about anywhere, but that's one of my favorite recruits that I've ever been around to watch or to be around just to have a communication, recruiting or otherwise. SC would be fortunate to get him, but they're in the mix. Osani, his dad played at Stanford. He's a Northern Cal kid. This is going to be his second season coming up, I believe, at IMG. Another burner, very polished on in, off the field, route runner. He's a little bit like Mackay, but with more speed. At this point, Mackay was fast, but he wasn't shot out of the cannon. He's tactical. Osani's tactical with more gifts. Now, he's got the ball skills that Mackay did in 50-50, which ended up being more like 80-20. He'd have to prove that. But SC's the leader early, Washington and Oregon and all those schools, the Florida State, Georgia, Notre Dame, everybody's wants Osani. And much like Eric, if you're around him for 5 minutes, you're like, okay, this kid could fit into our program if we're Rhode Island, if we're Illinois, or if we're Southern Cal. It doesn't make any difference. So that makes his value higher. Mark, I can tell you first that college coaches, they don't ask me about the film. They ask me about the person. Because the film on these elite kids, any moron can watch 5 clips of Osani Gales, go, oh, yeah, he can play here. Right. But can he get into your culture, and is he going to be high maintenance? There's the key words that nobody likes to talk about publicly, but behind the scenes, is this kid going to be a pain in my you-know-what?
No, yeah, I'm glad you're bringing this up, Brian. I agree.
And he's not. So that kind of takes care of that. I don't know when he's going to make his decision. If I had to bet, SC would be the school. Eric's a little harder to predict, but right now I think SC would be that school. It's the happy medium. He's in California, but he's not home because NorCal and SoCal is totally different, as you know.
Very.
But it would be the happy medium. I mean, Stanford could play a role, but they're terrible right now. I don't think he's going to go to his father's alma mater. Right. As for Lanier, I don't know him as well, but he is a Miami kid that's trying to get out, and he has just been done. He was a better receiver last year than the Calvin Russell kid, a year ahead. Yeah, he is that cat. He's somewhere in between Gales and McFarland, style-wise, but he's hungry. I would not want to bet against him in a one-on-one with the game on the line. My question is, will Miami let him get away, even if they have to overpay through the yin-yang, because they don't want to lose another kid from that program after Calvin decided? It's still weird. He signed with Syracuse. So we'll see. But Miami, this other Georgia and all those kind of schools are going to try to get him. SC is one of those wild cards because of the offense. I need to see how his visit goes to an SC, to an Oregon, to a Michigan, or wherever he ends up visiting. His list will change, and he's likely to be a kid that his recruitment will tally into what they call National Signing Day. So commitment or otherwise, I wouldn't worry about where he's leaning, but SC's in the mix.
Now, as we all know, USC brought in a fantastic recruiting class in this last cycle. Trent Mosley, Caden Dixon-Wyatt. Those are just the top 3 guys. Is that going to scare off some of these guys? Because again, I mentioned those top 3, but you got Luke Weaver, you got the young man from Louisiana. Excuse my name. I forget
which kid he is. They had so many good receivers. And
I apologize. I will get it out here sooner though. But my point is, they brought in 6 or 7. Luke Weaver from California. They brought in a lot of top end talent at the wide receiver position. How much of that will play a role with these guys?
The only way I see them really taking more than 2 is if
I apologize. There you go.
If they take more than 2, it would have to be a 5-star. Okay. And my guess is 1 or 2 of the kids they just signed will be done by the end of this next season and will transfer. It's going to be dog eat dog. I don't like it any more than you. We're both pretty old school, but that's not a news flash to SC fans or college football fans. And they do have a lot of players that, Mikhail got leaving this year next. They kind of had to do that.
Right.
And Booby Feaster wants to come, you're going to take him. I talked to Booby a couple of weeks ago. He's ready to go. So great kid. I've known him for years. So you have to find a way to make it work. And they could probably use another slot like a McFarland or a Lanier, a guy that could play inside. And McFarland's talented enough to play outside if he had to. Same with Lanier. But in the slot, you're not guarding. So those kinds of players I think are interesting. Whoever wants to come first is my guess. I'm sure they've got a picking order, but you're not going to say, you know what, Nick, you're number 3 on our list. We're not taking you. That's not how this really works. But at some point, you could only have so many spots.
And this is where Lincoln Riley and Chad Bowden have to kind of, make sure they're on the same page, because sometimes the general manager and the head coach, when they're trying to build a roster, they're looking at a couple different things and they're not looking at the same thing. So I hear you loud and clear. That definitely will come into play. Real quick, before we end this segment, who are some of the other guys from your neck of the woods in the Southeast who you think USC has a chance to pull? Doesn't have to be offense. Give me maybe a defensive player.
I think it's twofold. I think they're starting to look, but because you rightfully stated it's going to be limited, I think they will be very limited in what they do in the Southeast. They will go big game hunting at critical spots.
Right.
That same question 2 months from now, I'll have 10 guys that'll be ironclad, and they'll go hunting for those guys, and that'll be it. D-end, D-tackle, corner, and maybe a big play receiver too, like we talked about.
Right.
I don't think they even care. They're casting a wide net and with interest, and if there's not immediate, they're just going to cut bait. That's because they're not going to go through the crap they have the last fight. They can't keep any of the kids down there committed very often. So everybody spends money, and it's closer to take the money right there. Even USC's money, like Miami, will pay even more. So it's hard to keep those kids. I can't imagine that they're going to get many of them, but my guess is one or two major players from not just IMG. IMG is its own entity. Outside of IMG will visit SC. They'll get one kid from the deep South, Georgia, Florida, Alabama. That's my guess.
That's what I'm thinking as well. I think you got to stay closer to home. Again, because you're going with limited slots, you can't, unless you're getting, absolute, definitely for sure, number one NFL draft picks.
Yeah.
Every time you go to Georgia or Ohio or wherever, you got to make sure you're picking the best fruit off the trees in your own backyard, without a doubt.
100%.
All right. In the next segment, Brian, we're going to talk a little bit more about the 2026 class. And then the third segment, I want to ask also about 2027 quarterback recruiting. But then in the third segment, we're going to get your opinion on, did USC meet their needs in the transfer portal? Been some conversation about that on this show, as well as over at the wearesc.com message board. So I want to get an outside observer. That's all coming up next. The college football playoff is over. Congratulations, Indiana. However, FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game day of the NFL playoffs. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel is giving its users a profit boost, and it's waiting for them in the app. Here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets you already feel good about. And you know what? You can also ride with a favorite when you think a team is going to control that matchup. Perfect. You're set up. You can also take a shot on the underdog if you feel an upset's coming along. Or you can try and build a parlay around the players themselves in the moments that decide the game. Then you apply the profit boost. You go after even bigger winnings. And when you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your football playoff profit boost every single game day. Love saying thank you around here, Brian. Thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen. And also thank you all for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And if you're one of those people who likes to listen to the show rather than watch this face, I get it. Check this out. This is for you. My everydayers, you want to listen on your favorite podcast platform? You're living USC every day, 24/7, 365. Level up. Go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club. And you're going to get Locked On USC with no interruptions. You're going to get the members-only Discord access, and you're going to get more than just that. And you can get it all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. If you need more information, check out the link in the show's description page. Okay, Brian, everyone knows by now that USC brought in 35 guys with their 2026 recruiting class, the #1 ranked recruiting class. 32 of them are already enrolled, and I think a handful of those guys are going to have an immediate impact this season. Luke Wayfold, Jamion Winfield, Albert Hill, just on the defensive side of the ball. On offense, we've mentioned a couple of those names. Pick a wide receiver or three from the group of Booby Feaster, Trent Mosley, Caden Mark Bowman. And it's a ridiculous class. Before we look at what USC needs the most in 2027, what are your takeaways from that Navy All-American game? What did you see from those names, from some of those names I mentioned?
I don't ever need to see Booby again because I've known him since he was in 8th grade.
Okay.
That's how ridiculous he was. I was actually told about him when he was in 7th, but yeah, I'm not kidding. Like
I love that type of talent. That's awesome.
And he's focused on it too. He's a fun kid to be around. So I don't really need him, but like looking at the games, like these I was at the Under Armour game, same deal. The linemen are so good defensively. The quarterbacks are basically engulfed. It's like a guppy taking on a great white. It's hard for the passing game, so I can't really grade them there as much as I do at 7-on-7 and the practices. But like USC's group, receiver-wise, you could put it up against anybody in the last 5 recruiting classes for whichever institution, and it would be as good or better. Just to put that. And then you got Mark, who I met when he was a sophomore. He was with Cali Power, and somebody said, ask one of the players for them. They are all really good. I said, hey, who's next up? And he pointed over to this kid, and he said him. He goes, he's only like 15. I said, excuse me? Because he looked like he was 25. So, and Mark is just freakazoid. Yeah. So you put that together, it's one of the greatest groups I've ever seen in the last couple of years, and having Makai and all that. Like these kids want to play at a place they produce pass catchers, tight end included. Right. And SC actually they got kind of underrated, by the way. Their tight ends especially were really good. They didn't get enough love. I thought they were both pretty darn good.
Are you talking about this past season with it?
Yeah, like Lions.
I love the fact that Lincoln Riley started to integrate the tight end game. It was fantastic. It was beautiful. Lake McCree, I think, is an NFL player. I really do.
100%. So this is low-hanging fruit now because they had a few extra guys in their area, and then they actually hit on 1 or 2 guys outside their area. It happens sometimes. This year, they may not sign a single guy outside of California. Probably won't matter because they'll still get 1 or 2 really good receivers, maybe 1 or 2 good tight ends. Like Mark's a 3-and-out guy. I think he'll start his sophomore year. Possibly could start this. That's hard, but he'll play. He'll play 200 snaps on offense.
He's starting, Brian. He's starting. He lost all their tight ends.
If he doesn't, he got hurt or he just struggles with the playbook. Those are the only 2 possibilities because he really loves it. He really does. So I think Booby and him are the 2 safest, and I know them. I'm biased. I've been around them enough, especially Booby. But any of those receivers, like the kid from Houston, I forget his name. He came in, Hines or whatever. The kid, he started this year. Like, did we think he was going to pick up the playbook that fast? No. But that's why you have to let him go through spring. But we don't know. But when you get that many bullets in the revolver, one of them is going to hit something. Right. So I would imagine one of those guys ends up starting a few games this year. That's how I look at it. And if Booby ends up being the main guy by the end of the year, it wouldn't shock me. Like he's that guy. So I'm not really worried about it.
Yes or no? Luke Wayfold, Jamion Winfield, part of the 2 deep?
How would they? If they're not, that's on them.
Okay.
That's on them.
Yeah,
they have enough coaching there. They've got. I have
not seen USC bring in a player of a Luke Wayfold type of physicality. He's college ready. He is
100%. Yeah.
And same thing with Jamion. He might not have that college ready body, but he's got that motor. He knows how to play the game. He looks like an NFL defensive tackle, and USC can never have enough of those. So.
Yeah, you need kids that can weigh 300 pounds and still move laterally and chase down the ball carrier. Straight up. Defense is about recruiting. You can scheme offense. Defense about recruiting.
Absolutely. Let's talk about quarterback recruiting. What does USC do with their 2027 quarterback slot? Reason being, everybody thinks that Husan Longstreet left USC because of Jontez Williams. That's not the case. People need to understand this. Jontez Williams is in the exact same situation that Husan was at this very point last year. He was the backup to Jade Mayaba, who's learning the playbook.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, Husan didn't get to play in the bowl game. He knows he's not going to be playing a lot in 2026 at USC. He's now with Lane Kiffin at LSU. Jontez Williams, again, he's your backup. You're bringing back Sam Heward to be break the emergency glass quarterback, throw a fake, get out there on a punt and throw a pass for first down. I don't know. Can you recruit elite quarterbacks back to back now? Because one of them is going to leave. I just don't know how you do it.
There's two thoughts from people that you get. Who cares? One of them believe it is what it is.
Right.
And then the other one is what's bringing the other one. Hopefully one will accept redshirt. So it depends on your circumstance. Let me give you an example. There are a few different schools in the last year that have brought in guys that are multiple in a class. Sometimes he's done it over the years. I remember a long time ago when I interviewed Carson Palmer, he was a recruit. The year before, they'd taken 2 quarterbacks. And I said, are you worried about that? This is before he had any idea where he's going. And he said, I've been to USC's practice. Neither one of them's beating me out. And he was just dead. And he was right. But it just depends on the kid. Like Carson was that, like he's always been cocky. And he obviously, but he was very cocky. He didn't care. Some kids that bothers him. I'm not going to go into specifics, but there are a few kids that are really good in the last class or two. They didn't pick a school because they didn't want to be a part of a 2 quarterback, or they took a guy the year before that's same level. And they're like, well, we can't win that battle because that kid gets a year in the playbook. They're probably right. The playbook is the most important thing because coaches are the most archaic individuals on planet Earth. You do it their way or you sit on the bench. So I think that USC needs to take the right guy if they're going to take an elite player. But Jonas is one of my favorite players in the 26 class regardless. He played against Chicago competition. That's good enough. And he was an elite player in terms of going to the camps and all that. He's mobile enough. Like he can be a Heisman winner, especially with the guys he's going to be throwing to. Like Jesus.
Right.
He's probably, in my opinion, if he picks up the playbook, that means you got to be good on the board. And that's why so few people pick quarterbacks correctly. It's not about what we see on the field. It's 100% about that playbook and the chalkboard. We don't get to see that. You know, I have no idea if you can pick that up.
And here's the thing, Brian, based on the way things are trending in college football,
right?
You're picking your starting quarterback to lead you to wherever that has experience being developed somewhere else. I mean, your latest Heisman. I mean, look what he just did. Miami, this is their MO now. Let's just go. Who's going in to be their senior year, or who's a grad transfer? Who's a really good quarterback? Let's just go buy it. That's why I was asking this question. How important is it to recruit an elite quarterback nowadays? I just don't think it's that important anymore.
I'll push back in this one sense. I'm not a huge Lincoln Riley guy, but if I'm a dad that has a quarterback, it's a different story.
Sure.
If you're going to be developed by him, I think it's worth waiting to your junior year. That's how I look at it. And I don't know how many kids will do that because most kids want to leave if they don't start as sophomore, kind of like Osani. But at the same time, of course, now he's not going to start at LSU. That's a weird deal. But the whole point is still the same. If you're willing to wait, like his offense has some points that are difficult, but overall it's not super hard to pick up, and there's a lot of easy access throws, and you're throwing to dudes.
Right.
So I think that certain offenses are easier to do. Like Georgia's offense is not fun. It's got a lot of complex, and they don't throw it a ton. Besides that, it's a great pick. That's why they don't get a lot of quarterbacks. So depends on the school, but Lincoln's always going to be able to get one every year that's top 10 if he wants to.
Right.
The question is, should he? Should he at least every third year take that guy that's just wanting to be at USC that has a big arm, and then maybe he only starts as a fifth-year senior? Probably. That could be your bridge gap guy.
Right.
But it's hard that when you have his pedigree, which he had 3 Heisman winners, he's always going to get that phone call, and it's going to be hard to say no to the number 6 quarterback in the country that's mobile, 6'3", 210. You know what I mean? Like they almost got Ryder Lyons, et cetera. They missed out on just a few other guys if they hadn't got Jonas. I mean, so if anybody could do it, it's the Trojans.
Okay. I think it's going to be an interesting trend to watch and how it unfolds. And this isn't just USC specific. I think this is across the whole spectrum, especially if you're one of those major elite programs. Bottom line is this: financially, you got to be able to afford it as well. So that's part of the thing. I mean, everything again is just there's so much encompassing now with how you build a roster. Speaking of building a roster, USC. We're going to talk about it in this next segment. I want your opinion. The transfer portal seems to be the way to go if you want to win a national championship. Indiana just did it. Texas Tech made the playoffs. A lot of programs have figured it out. I'm trying to figure out if USC is all the way in, because this would have been the year where they should have said, you know what? We spent all those resources on the 2026 recruiting class. I'm not sure they did the same. They took the same philosophy, the same approach with the transfer portal. I'm going to get your opinion on that coming up next. All right, Brian. So I'm pretty sure USC is done bringing guys in through the portal for this cycle, through this window. Bottom line is, did USC address its needs? They brought in, and some of these guys, they filled the need, but did they get the best possible player available? So I love the Jontez Williams signing, the cornerback from Iowa State. Love it, especially if he's healthy. I think Terrell Anderson, the wide receiver from North Carolina State, fills a need. You needed a veteran, experienced guy to help these younger guys come along. Chinuk Hines is really the dude, and he's a sophomore right now. So yeah, I like those two signings. I would have liked to see USC throwing their hat in for Cam Coleman or Nick Marsh, but again, I'm satisfied with a Terrell Anderson. And then they brought in Zariah Fisher, edge from Penn State. He's, I think, going to be collecting Social Security this year. I love the Alex Van Sumeren signing from Michigan State, the defensive tackle. I think they really missed the boat at linebacker. I like Devin Bryant from Washington, but this is where they should have really brought in, two of the best that are out there. Go get me the Uluave guy from Cal. Again, this is where USC needed help the most. To me, in my opinion, linebacker. And then I like Tucker Ashcroft, the tight end from Wisconsin. Dude looks like a Lost Hansen brother from the Slapshot movie. Carrington Pierce is the younger brother of USC's Christian Pierce. He's a secondary guy. And then they also brought in a long snapper and a punter. In your opinion, based on what USC has returning on the roster, did they get enough out of the transfer portal to get them into the playoffs in year 5 of the Lincoln Riley era?
They did. I have a couple of questions that I'll get to. I'll let you answer them. You'll know better than I. I love Zariah Fisher. That's the one I think you should look at. Pass rushers don't got a style. If you don't believe me, ask any quarterback that's had his head banged into the ground in the Super Bowl like last year with Philadelphia. If you don't have pass rushers, you're not going to win. Number 2, they addressed enough needs, especially the kid you talked about from Iowa State, like getting 6+ corners, safeties that can play in man, and everything turns into man if you start out in cover 4, cover 3. You got to have them if you're going to play against an LSU in the playoff, or an Ohio State, or a Notre Dame now, a Miami, like Texas with Cam Coleman. You're going to play one of those teams, or multiple, if you go into play. And even Georgia's recruiting. For the love of mankind, Georgia's recruiting receiver at a high level. Why, I don't know. Kids want to go there, but that's another story if you're a receiver. But you've got to have those guys. Those are the two I'm most interested in, but I have a very big question for you. Where in the hell is the star offensive tackle? That's the one spot I would have
on the offensive line.
Well, I mean, they're doing pretty good, but I thought they would try to get one guy to see. I'm not saying they had to go after Jordan Seaton.
No.
That wasn't bad.
Here's how I'll answer your question. USC, Lincoln Riley's best offensive line was the one he inherited when he showed up in 2022. Okay. Those were the guys they had played together for a few years. This is what he's kind of has going for him now in the 2026 season. Elijah Page is back at left tackle. You've got Tobias Raymond at left guard. You've got Killian O'Connor at center. You've got Alani Noah, who will be a 4-year starter at right guard. I understand where you're going with this. Did they address the right tackle? Maybe is Justin Tawanuu, is he the guy? Because he might be the one guy who needs to take it to the next level. Keeping in mind, though, USC's recruited the offensive line room really well the last couple of cycles, and Zach Hansen showed it doesn't matter who's available. He's going to make the offensive line work. USC dealt with a lot of injuries at the O-line last year. And I would say I would still give that group an A. Going into the season, they were the big question mark. By the end of the season, that was the position group I had the most confidence in on a game-by-game basis. And again, didn't matter who was available. They just got the job done. They almost had a walk-on running back go for 1,000 yards.
I know. It's so wild.
It's crazy. So, yeah, I think offensive line-wise, maybe it's a risk, maybe it's a gamble. I just think they're going all in with the youth guys that they brought in, and they love the way Zach Hansen develops. To your point.
Pepe is the key then. That was going to be my second question. He's a guy I know, love him.
Actually,
but
who do you think plays first? Kenai Pepe or Breck Kolajay? Kolajay has that attitude that I was like, you belong with a Pete Carroll teams in the mid-2000s.
Oh, yeah. I talked to him about that the other day when I was at Under Armour. He said, I'm going to bring culture into SC. They got to change it. Yeah, like the defense in particular, like I won't go into specifics, but like that they got to play tougher. And that's part of that's practice. And he's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's not playing defense. For those who don't know, he's going to play center or guard, maybe both.
But you're going to make the defense better by knocking those guys in the face a few times.
There it is. So Pepe has talent that you can't teach. He's got the higher NFL ceiling. Kolajay might be the better college player. It might be the more valuable guy because of what I just talked about.
Is he a center?
A big stick and he's going to talk it at the same time. He's that guy.
Is he a center or a guard in your opinion? Where do you think he eventually ends up? Because USC has brought in some dudes to play center. They got Cannon Smith. That's another guy. They brought in Willie Washer in the last cycle before that. They've got dudes. So where can Breck get on the field the fastest?
Whoever graduates first. It'll be irrelevant.
Okay.
Won't make any difference. He'll probably play both at some point because he's cross-trained for quite a while.
But I agree with you. He's bringing, we'll use finger quotes, culture to USC.
Yeah.
I love it. He speaks my language. Every other word out of his mouth sounds like he's a naval sailor. That's me. I mean, it's a good point that you made about him with Pete, because Pete wanted to run the ball. Remember that Reggie Bush team in 205? They were top 3 in the nation in running the football. Of course, they were, we threw it around. Well, Reggie Bush ran all over the place, and so did that other guy they had. Like they had about 4 running backs, but they only got to play about 2 because they were so good. I need to remind people that Chauncey Washington was actually the starter before Lendale White. Chauncey Washington got hurt, and that's how Lendale White got that opportunity. And there was some other stuff going on behind the scenes at another day, another show. But USC, to your point, USC was bringing in some really good running backs at that time. And Breck Kolajay is the type of offensive lineman you want opening the holes for the running backs that USC just brought in. Deshaun Rideau, Sean Alston, Waymon Jordan, who probably won't be around next year, but he'll be around this year. King Miller. I have a feeling USC might, I think they finally have the roster that is a Big Ten type of roster. It's not one of those in-between things. And the type of guys they're recruiting for the trenches, definitely, without a doubt.
They should win 10 games this next year, barring Maeva getting hurt. You know what I mean? Like that's
even with that schedule.
If they don't, then it's never going to happen.
Okay, I'm with you. For me, 9 and 3
to win some freaking road games, brother. I'm just going to say that now, and I know you beat that drum all the time, so I'm going to jump on the bandwagon with you. You got to win some road games.
Absolutely, bang that drum. So, without a doubt. Brian, that was a wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much. We've got to do this again soon. Tell everybody where they can find you every day.
Absolutely, man. Same place you get Locked On USC, you can get the Portal Podcast. You can get it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Podbean, and everywhere else you get your pods. Check out the Portal Podcast.
There you go. I want to thank everybody again for making Locked On USC their first listen. Don't forget to check out Brian on his show, Locked On Portal. I'll be back again with another episode. In fact, we might have a bonus episode. USC is rearranging the deck chairs with their coaching staff. They just announced Mike Eckler as their special teams coach. They're getting ready to announce Gary Patterson as their next defensive coordinator. There's a lot of stuff going on around USC right now, so we had to squeeze some recruiting in there when we can. Brian, I'll bring you back on the show. I'll get your thoughts on USC's new staff because I don't think it's done changing over, by the way. So we'll get back again as we get deeper into the offseason and 7-on-7 takes off, and we're talking about these recruits and the cycle. I'm going to bring you back on the show. We're going to see where we're at. So thank you again for doing this. Until that next episode, everyone, you know what to do.